Rombo.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Heavy Repping. My name is John Tron Davidson, and I'm here once again in our super best merch test location in the southwest of England. Before we get started though, just a little note: you've probably noticed my very dashing Heavy Repping t-shirt. These are made by Broadside Screen Printing here in Exeter, who are excellent people, and they have done a very limited run of the first set of Heavy Repping t-shirts that come with their own 90s style full back print. Yes, they do. And they'll be going up for sale on the website in due course, so please do keep your eyes open for that. Nice. So today is a special episode of Face Off. What I'm going to do is take this, which is a 1905 MH handmade mandolin pick, and I'm going to take this, which is a Rombo Black Diamond from their Eco series, and we're going to put them against each other. But because the MH was designed for the mandolin, I'll be playing it on the mandolin as well as the acoustic, and we're going to do the same thing with the Rombo. In the interest of total transparency, I'm going to record them using this SM58 and this SE Electronics laser. So let's put these two against each other and see what we've got. So let's talk about the MH first. This tiny thing came to me from the collector Joe Macy, whose 7-part series you can have a look at on Vintage Picks up here. He sent me this along with a bunch of other really cool old picks like old Lyles and French mosaics and so on. Now it's worth noting that the oldest pick that's been recorded in the Western style is the Cristofaro from 1881, so this one is not a million miles behind it, but as you can see from the close-up up here, it's not the most even thing in the world. This has got oblique bevels, which is something that's on the Dunlop Primetone series, as well as Hawk and Honey and Kelly Nonis and so on. But this one is very toothy and kind of long, and it's slightly lumpy on one side. Now it's got the MH carved into the front of it, which I will endeavour to show in the pictures up there, though it's very faint, just because it's a very old plectrum. This is very toppy, very bright, and it comes from an era before the standardisation of plectrums in 1922 by Luigi D'Andrea. So this is a precursor to 351s, 348s, 346s, 355s and so on. It's very fast through the strings, which I wasn't expecting, even though it is kind of long, because long picks like this, and this is right up in the crook of my finger, long picks like this do tend to feel a little bit cumbersome when you're playing with them, but I really enjoyed it, and it felt very right on the mandolin, if a bit weird on the acoustic. The Rombo, by contrast, is a completely different ballgame. This is actually made from landfill material, so when you take stuff to the landfill, all these odds and ends, they all get compressed and crushed and then heated up and then liquefied, and those become these little tiny plastic pellets that we touched on in the injection moulding video. Now, the whole reason why I'm featuring this above all the other picks that I have is because it is geometrically by far and away the most complex design that I own. and certainly in terms of what I've seen out in the Plectroverse, it's right up there. There are people making crazier things like the Depic Argentina Virtuoso and so on, but in terms of what we would recognise as a pick in the modern day, this is head and shoulders above everybody in terms of its ergonomics and geometry. Because this is made from landfill material, and contrary to the other designs, the coloured designs that Rombo make, it is a little bit like Delrin. It feels a little bit like Delrin, but it's got a slight dullness at the front end like nylon does. But I would say, having contrasted this to things like the Jazz 3 XL upon which it's based, it's a little bit beefier in the bottom end. It's got quite a serious, or perhaps I should say more focused sort of feel and sound to it. It's not all springy and bouncy and zingy and all the rest of it. Something that I could definitely say about the MH. I would gladly take this out and use it every night. It's a pick. That's the whole idea behind it. This would make me super nervous just because it's so tiny and black, and if you drop that on a stage, that's gone forever. Whereas the Rombo, given that it's got a hole in it and it's a little bit brighter in places, you've got a fighting chance of finding that again. It's really interesting to see how far apart these two designs are while holding true to the ethos of pick design. To be able to hold this actually and just see what pick design was like 115 years ago is kind of a big thing. It's really, really interesting to see just how far we've come when it comes to the fact that because the MH is handmade, each one of them would have been very slightly different, and the people that are hand making picks now have a much, much higher consistency. They've got better tools. Even if they're working from home and they're doing it as a side gig, they've got access to much more accurate measurements. They've got access to the whole Plectroverse community of makers saying, I tried this with this material and this didn't work. Whereas back in the day, there was a lot of trial and error. And even when celluloid came along and became more ubiquitous, people were still trying to figure out how to work it and how to make the best out of it. So to know that this pick and its contemporaries would have all come out of the maker's hands ever so slightly differently, to a point in time where we're recycling literally anything into pellets and then injection moulding hundreds of thousands of these that are virtually identical every single time they come out of the same machine, which can essentially be left unattended because of the way it runs. That I would call a massive step forward, and a little thing behind the scenes that you wouldn't necessarily have thought of when it came to pick design. So I hope that was informative and interesting for you. It certainly was for me, but then that's my channel. If you would like to subscribe to Heavy Repping, please feel free to do so. You can do a like downstairs, or you can have a look at the Instagram, which is @HeavyRepping. Don't forget to visit heavyrepping.com for all the latest news, interviews, reviews and so on from the Plectroverse. My name is John Trott Davidson. This is Heavy Repping, and I shall see you soon. So just remember, if you're not sure what to do in life, rep hard and rep heavy.